feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go.
Hello and welcome to Castle's Corner. I'm, of course, Coach Castle, and I'm joined by Matt Morton and Oz. And we're going to get into a lengthy discussion today about different training styles. We're going to be talking about resistance bands, kettlebells, bodybuilding, biomechanics, analyzing different things, talking about sport-specific things and skill sets. But before we go any further, let me introduce myself. I'm Coach Castle, a biomechanics expert, as well as respiratory specialist, as well as many other things. Let's just put it that way. And on to my two co-hosts today. Matt, how about you? Who are you, Matt?
Hi, I'm Matt Morton. I am the 2021 reigning natural wheelchair Mr. Olympia, and my focus is kinesiology and physiology.
Oz, I guess?
Yes. Gentlemen, it's very nice to meet you. First of all, thank you for inviting me to spend some time with you. My name is Asa Ponte. I am a Southern California trainer. I own a small gym in Oceanside, and I have a very robust personal training practice here in San Diego. I'm guessing you're smiling because perhaps you were close to Pendleton or at Pendleton, Matt, there.
Yeah, we could tell stories. We got to talk later.
So I have a few of your brothers and sisters in my gym, but so I specialize in kettlebells, but I have a very strong focus on functional neurology that I get from a system of education called Z Health Performance, and we're going to be talking a lot about that today. In fact, this is the way that my new good friend here, Coach Castle, and I came together was through the neurology side. And again, focus on kettlebells. Have massive love for the body weight practice, and I still love the barbell, even though it's like the oldest tool that I started using many years ago. But I try to revolve my practice around those three tools to give my clients and myself the best opportunity to, just have a robust health and wellness.
So anyways, the podcast topics today, guys, just so we don't lose you, is we're going to be talking about different training methods, methodologies, why some work, why some are more efficient for certain things, why some are better for other things. So for me, I'll be coming from this from a biomechanical standpoint, addressing kind of the bodybuilding hypertrophy side. But I'll also be speaking on the other subjects, but I'll be sticking primarily to that. I believe Matt will primarily be talking about working out at home, getting that Olympia title with resistance bands. He's got a pretty cool machine he uses. And Oz will be going on about some kettlebells and barbells. And who knows where this will go, but let's start chatting. So I guess my take on the thing, just so you guys who haven't met me anyways know my opinion on it, is that there's only 23 to 26 perfect exercise movements to perform for maximum muscle development on your body. Now, this is strictly from a bodybuilding perspective. Now, of course, with my clients, many other things have to be addressed, such as correcting their posture, the actual tensegrity of their structure, if you will. Lots of things, correcting their respiratory, making sure they're breathing with their nose, inhaling in a horizontal manner, breathing with their diaphragm, goal setting, tons of stuff. But primarily when it comes to exercise, at least from my viewpoint, you should be exercising roughly 20, maybe 30 minutes a day, about 5 days a week. If you're performing it with the correct intensity and the correct movements, you will have an extremely healthy, stable, all around healthy and musculature body with no imbalances, provided you're doing things right. And also, furthermore, you don't need a gym for any of this. You can do it all in your home with a couple of really easy systems I've developed, which are basically free. No need for machines, no need for weights, no need for barbells, no need for these things. In fact, and lots of times when it comes to bodybuilding, barbells, kettlebells, these things are actually very counterproductive. You don't want to be doing it. But again, this is from the bodybuilding hypertrophy standpoint. Matt, what do you think about that?
There's a lot of truth into what you said, but there are certain golden rules for hypertrophy, and a lot of people don't really understand them. So they go into the gym and they mock, but they don't understand. And then they get very upset with themselves on, why have I been going to the gym 6 times a week and for 2 years and I don't really look any different than I did before? And there are just so many things that they're not doing that is just killing their productivity. And we were talking before we started to record, and you brought up the incline bench press. It is the most worthless exercise for your chest.
And damaging too.
It kills you. Your rotary cuff, you're overworking your front delts. And if you're not perfectly in, you're gonna hurt yourself. You are. It's not if, it's when. And there's just no two ways about it. It's like doing cheap barbell curls. It looks like people are humping the mirror while they're swinging something up to their shoulders while they're using their elbows to lift it.
If I may interject just real quick, I want to clarify and just unpack a couple little things you just said, so it doesn't just sound like we're talking out of our ass here. All right. So what Matt's referring to when it comes to incline bench press, everybody listening, I just want you to go ahead and do a little thing for me, okay? How would you flex your chest at any form of competition or in the mirror? You'd go, like Arnold, right? This is what you do. Well, this is a decline angle. Your humerus is going down. Your pec is being pulled here, okay? It's a decline angle. This is the only angle that efficiently targets all pectoral muscle fibers, okay? Now, I want you to go ahead, set yourself up at an incline angle like so. Go ahead and try to flex your chest. Give me a contraction at this angle. You can't do it unless you're an alien. The reason for this is if you were contracting your chest like this, you would actually have muscle fibers on your chin and your neck in order to enable that. Since you don't, and muscle fibers can only pull insertion to origin in a straight line, incline bench press only actually really works your front deltoids primarily. It overstretches them. It causes wear and tear to the shoulder girdle. Now, as for what he was referring to secondly, with the dumbbell curls in the mirror, typically people will actually barbell. People will typically treat those almost like kettlebell swings, and they'll typically just using momentum, their rectospinal, their spine to do the work, bouncing it, etc. When you do that, all you're doing is subtracting load to the biceps. That's why you don't want to use momentum. And also, of course, you're damaging yourself because you're overstretching your tendons and it's hurting your joints. But I'll stop. Anyways, Oz, what do you think?
Well, I feel rather guilty here because for so many years when I was coming up through the system and before I knew about these other tools and just better information for that matter, I used to love doing incline bench. I loved it. I can't tell you how much, but like the information that I had at the time was limited. I lived in a very small town in rural Puerto Rico, which was like basically like the countryside.
I love Puerto Rico.
There you go. My only source of information was like Muscle and Fiction and Flex magazine. We're talking about late 80s here. So I was very limited in what I knew. It wasn't until I started wrestling and I got exposed to Eastern European methods of weightlifting with a coach from Bulgaria who was his name is Dimo Kostov. He was our wrestling coach, and he started to show us how to train for wrestling with weight, and it was vastly different than what I had been learning for muscle hypertrophy, if we want to take it back to how we started this conversation. And so that was one of the pivotal moments for me that I started to switch my mindset and go like, wait a minute, let me explore this avenue. And I started to leave behind some of, the stuff that I had learned from, but basically the what we would typically call the bro split, right? Lucky for me, I had already been working in martial arts, and I had this inclination to pursue really good, polished, almost perfect form. And I think that saved my shoulders from injury in doing all that, start with, your bench and then go to the incline and then maybe grab some dumbbells and do some incline with that and then go to your flies or something like that. And I was also very young at the time. And I so you guys know, and I think we're going to get into talking about this a little more later, but the body's very resilient and the nervous system is very plastic. Mm-hmm. So that's lucky for us, is that if we do make mistakes,
we'll
be able to rectify them. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys on that. It's pretty useless for the purpose that most people want to use it for.
But Mr. Oz, have you not noticed that even though good rubber band only stays good rubber band for so long before it just starts being like pop or so. Because my background is wrestling and judo and taekwondo, and we did the old Russian style of wrestling where it was the towel pulls and the Russian rolls and doing nothing but pull-ups and dips and
Yeah.
wrestling sixes, for your cardio and
Yeah.
so very much the same. And the sad thing about it, you're talking about the old late 80s Muscle and Fitness and Flex and whatever the magazine. I met Frank Zane in Oceanside, and he said all of those workouts, we didn't even work out like that. This is how we truly did.
Mhm.
And I learned that while I was a power lifter for the Marines when I met Franco Colombo as well. They're like, this is how you really do it. This is how, you know what I mean? Because if you look at any muscle magazine kind of thing, they're like, oh, this is the best way to do chest. You do your 4 sets of flat bench, then you grab your dumbbells and 3 or 4 sets of dumbbell press. It doesn't matter if you're reading it from 1968 or 1998. They just have this little template and they just put you in there and nobody cares if it's right or wrong. They're selling a magazine.
Well, I would actually, I'll interject here and say, I don't think I've actually spoken about this on the channel before, but the only time I was able to work for a company is when I was a chef. Some people don't know this. I was a chef for 16 years. I did fine dining, high-end catering, etc. These kinds of things. But I could work for the owner, provided the owner let me rule, like let me have my way, basically. And when I started my coaching, I realized I had a ton of information about biomechanics and breathing, all this stuff that no other personal trainers had. You know what I mean? So I thought to myself, I'll join a gym and I'll work for them and I'll help a lot of people and I'll teach the gym staff while I'm there. It'll be awesome. That's what I thought. Well, needless to say, in 3 weeks' time, I was out 5 different gyms. And this is because the gyms did not want me teaching correct exercise. The gyms did not want me explaining why the squat is inefficient, why the deadlift is a horrible exercise, etc. They didn't want me doing this. They wanted me selling an extremely set, either cookie cutter program or selling their services and I told them, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I was either fired on the spot or I was nicely let go at the end of the day. And I'm totally okay with that. It doesn't bother me in the slightest because I don't want to work for anybody like that. I want to work with people who want to make the world a better place. I don't want to work for somebody like that. But that's how gyms still are to this day. And furthermore, a lot of people don't even think about this. But your gyms, they don't even do your measurements. You know what I mean? They don't do your measurements. They don't track you. They don't do progress pictures. They don't talk about nutrition or sleep or supplementation. They don't talk about your hormones, your blood work, your food sensitivities. You get the idea. They don't talk about any of these things with you. So again, kind of on my vendetta to get rid of gyms and personal trainers. I mean, this is why. But this goes back a long time. The fitness marketing bullshit's been here forever. It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon, unfortunately. But it's still here. It's not like it's a new thing. It's still absolutely everywhere.
There's a famous picture that's been used since like 1972 and everything. And it's that picture of Arnold doing 135 on the incline within the Smith rack. The man told me himself, he was talking to the group, and he said, the only reason why I did that, I wanted to burn my chest so hard that was the only exercise I hadn't done yet. I was doing just the 135 on this. He goes, I started with flat bench. Then I went to that to do another 100 reps. I just wanted to tear every possible muscle fiber because at that time we didn't have a lot of declines in there, any of that kind of stuff. That's more of a newer thing. But if you listen to somebody like Dorian Yates, that was his bread and butter. And nobody's going to say that Dorian Yates didn't have a big, thick chest.
But again, it makes, I'm in the process of breaking down his blood and guts videos. I'm actually going to be showing and demonstrating why the vast majority of exercises he performed were actually biomechanically sound, except for his Yates deadlift, the regular deadlift, the overhead pull.
Yeah, that was trash.
and a few others. The rest of the exercises he did were actually damn near perfect biomechanical form. I mean, it's actually amazing how the machines were designed. You can see the cams, you can see. So I'm going to do a breakdown of why he was so good. He didn't train traditionally. He trained with the high intensity, which is efficient, not the most efficient.
Right.
Yeah.
It's efficient, but not the most efficient with the new information we have on hypertrophy, with the actual sharing of nuclei and the actual cross sections of muscles, the different forms of, fast twitch, slow twitch muscle fibers. We have more knowledge nowadays, so we know there's better ways to do things. But back in the day, I mean, it was extremely efficient, but at the same time, he had many, many, many injuries, and he had to quit because of it. The reason he was getting these injuries was
He was
entirely
working too heavy.
Well, he wasn't working too heavy.
And he was over drugged.
He wasn't having adequate recovery time. So the muscles were healing from the steroids more rapidly than the tendons were, which is why the tendons got tore off the bones. Yep. That's really what happened. But sorry, neither here nor there.
That's what I meant by he was overworking.
Yeah,
he wasn't allowing for enough recovery.
And tendons take a lot longer than muscles to recover. But let's talk about this, for example. Another mistake I used to make, at least when I was younger, I mean, probably 16 to 22, 23, I wanted to be the best at everything. I wanted to be an amazing cyclist. I wanted to be a long distance runner. I wanted to be a sprinter. I wanted to be the best at jiu-jitsu. I wanted to be the best at boxing. I wanted to be a bodybuilder. I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to be everything. And you guys probably see where I'm going with this. It doesn't work that way. So all of these different, and rock climbing, and all of these different things all had completely different styles of training required. And if you're trying to do all of these styles of training.
Oz is laughing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He knows. We all done that.
We've all done that. Yeah.
Hey, I'm really good at judo, so I'm going to be a good wrestler. No, you're not, because judo doesn't teach the ankle pick and the double leg takedown in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
The Saunders cradle works, yes, but not against the judo gi. You're going to that sort of things. You have to pick a discipline.
So here's a biggie, exactly what Matt just said. You got to pick one thing. So don't try to be a champion martial artist at the same time as being a bodybuilder. Being a bodybuilding it's 24/7. You can't do that as well as be excellent at martial arts, because both require your full attention, both of them. And you can't do that. You can't divvy it up. So first thing I would
interject with that. Yes, you can be a champion. They're legends in their own mind, and their bodies just aren't making the changes that they're looking for. And while they're at karate class and they're doing these knee-high snap kicks at Taekwondo, and they want to do Van Damme head highs.
What about the guys? What about the guys shadow boxing in the gym? they finish a set. They finish
their own mind.
These guys, they finish the set of bicep.
That's hilarious, man.
And they get the Rocky soundtrack in their head after the bicep curls. They start shadow boxing in the mirror. These motherfuckers. But no, guys, you can't.
Hey, Oz, how many people did you know that were masters at Taekwondo after watching Best of the Best and Bloodsport?
Yeah,
I can fight. I watched this.
Everybody had a black belt.
Black eyes.
You know what my martial arts instructor used to say, people would come and ask him, "Oh, have you met so and so in this other school?" And he was like, "No, I haven't." And who are they? What are they about? And people will be like, "Oh, they have like 3 black belts." And my instructor will always be like, 3 black belts? They must have lived 300 years, right? Because it takes you at least 100 years to master one martial art. I don't know how he magically got 3 black belts. That's a major difference. And I'm glad that you brought this up, Coach Castle, because I had the luxury of having this stepladder introduction to these different things. And when I found them, I focused on that. And then time went by, and then I found something else and I would focus on that. But I had already built a baseline of skill in something prior. So it wasn't a concurrent development that everything was at the same level rising together. It was like, I first started doing martial arts, and then I started weightlifting, and then I, like that, because you're absolutely on the head about that. One of the big mistakes that I see today is that people get so enamored with everything that's out there, and they try to bring it all in. And it's an admirable quality about the human condition and the spirit, that we are so driven. But, unfortunately, your physiology doesn't go that fast. You got to things to, talk about tendon strength, I mean, think about people that do like grip stuff, right? That they tear cars, they bend steel and things like that. It takes them years to condition the ligaments in the tendons of the hand and the forearm in order to be able to perform those feats consistently without getting hurt. And that's, you know, something that I wish I could like put on a loudspeaker and tell everyone. It's like, you got to allow your time to adapt. You know, this is, I mean, this, Matt, you'll love this. Wolff's law and Davies' law, right? The tissues will align along lines of stress, you know, but those tissues, like Coach Castle was talking about, they don't really heal as fast as your muscles. So if you don't allow for that sequential progression over time, all you're going to end up is, you know, busted hands, busted everything, really bad knees, bad ankles, bad back, everything.
I mean, you brought up something that was very good. When I was a small child, the only thing around me was Shotokan karate. Okay. So between ages 7 and 11, I'd earned the junior black belt. They'd call it, you know, the junior, well, whatever. But I'd earned a black belt in Shotokan karate. And that didn't mean I could beat everybody up. That meant I was very good at kata. Right. And so when I moved, it was Taekwondo, everything around, along with judo and the hapkido and this business. Well, I thought to myself, oh, I've got a black belt in karate. This Taekwondo should be easy. No, my whole body had to relearn how to move just to do a kick because of the differences in the stance and the way you generate your power and the whole thing. So I do have my black belts in judo and hapkido, but they're about the same kind of martial art. I have my black belt in judo because I'm a very good wrestler, and it was easy for me to translate. We're doing it from this way instead of this way, but I became very good at one thing first.
Yeah,
Actually,
and then I learned how other people did it.
You guys want to
And that's
talk
all I
about?
focused on.
I'm sorry. You guys want to talk about neurological adaptations and learning skill sets as opposed to actually getting better at something?
Yes,
Because
because
there's a big difference.
Watch, Oz. This is the best I can close my hand. I can't like full fist here, but because of my damages, I can only do this part or this part. And my thumb just
Put it
came
on
out.
camera. Matt, I can't see your fucking hand. Put it on camera. You're not demonstrating correct. There we go. All right, what you doing?
Okay, so I can either close the bottoms or I can close the tops. So you watch all of my videos where I'm gripping the hand grips like dumbbell, and I keep the false grip and I keep it like you're doing a palm strike. So I keep it in the meaty breaking part of my hand and just let it rest. I'm never fully gripping with my right hand. I'm either gripping really tight with like so, but I'm never closing all the way with my right hand because I can't. And it's because of the Gulf War syndrome and the neurological problems and the spinal cord injury and all of this business. But you have two choices. Do you sit and cry and just make yourself all boo-hoo about it? Or do you do something to make yourself better? You upgrade yourself. And the thing is, I've had so many doctors, oh, we're doing neck fusion or we're doing this back rods or something. And I just say, no, I'm just going to go home and do Pumse in my wheelchair and, you know, work I'll use a little Joe staff instead of the long 6-footer, but I'll sit there and do like the Hapkido bow staff form, you know, really slow. I want the full range movement. And I want my body to sit exactly perfect. That's why my kinesiology, physiology, I had to relearn everything. So what you and I talked and you looked at my book and you're like, how much biomechanics have you had before? I said, oh, my family's engineers. We talked about it. I don't know.
So real quick, guys,
real
quick, just to maybe unpack and simplify a little bit what Matt was just saying is basically one of the first things that must come with exercise, learning and movement, correcting your posture, improving your breathing, any of these things, well, on top of the fact that you actually have to be mindful of what's occurring, is, you know, that's kind of unspoken, but I'll still say it because you do have to be mindful of what's going on. It's very convenient and easy to just watch yourself like a stranger, like you're coaching yourself, for example, and just remind yourself throughout the day. But what Matt's saying is an intrinsic, basically, perception, the ability to know what's going on inside your body. I mean, for me, this is why the vast majority of my videos on YouTube, I include animations of the anatomy, the muscles, these things. So you guys guys have an
done
idea of
very well.
exactly what is going on in your body. So when you're doing a bicep curl, you only move your forearm. Your elbow doesn't move. Your humerus is nailed to your side. Your shoulder doesn't move, adding momentum. None of these things. You're only using the one single lever attempting to use. You're maximizing it, and you're putting it through a correct resistance curve. But here's the thing. Say you haven't exercised in like a year, or even you've, whatever. Say you've been exercising, you're a bodybuilder, but you've never done anything my way. And my way is, let's just say, the biomechanically perfect way, which is loading your muscles maximally using the levers and putting it through a correct resistance curve. I'm not going to explain about that, but that's what it is essentially. And you're also going to be raising the weight rapidly and lowering it slowly. Now, even if you're a champion bodybuilder, if you've never worked out with me before and I have you do something like this, even if I don't make you go to failure, if it's not a really hard workout, I just have you do these new movements with a weight you can handle. The next day, you're going to be very sore. That does not mean you grew any muscle. It doesn't mean you suddenly had an amazing workout. This muscle confusion principle is not real. All that happened was because you were performing a new particular movement with a new rep scheme or a new weight or a new form of contraction or active insufficiency or passive insufficiency or whatever, any of these things, your muscles got a little bit sore. That's all it means. It doesn't mean any more work was done. Now, if you keep doing this exercise and I do not allow you to raise your weights and I make you keep those weights the same for, say, a month, and at the end of the month, you'll be doing, triple the number of reps you started at the month, you will not be sore, but guess what? You still probably haven't really grown any muscle yet. You've simply developed a better neurological connection with the movement. You've essentially learned a skill. The muscle takes time to grow, but the best thing you can do if you're serious about correcting your posture, your breathing, your health, your muscles, is to learn the intrinsic, like what's actually happening inside your body. Make sure, to keep it simple, your form is perfect, under control with the right rep scheme, and then you're good. But people don't want to do that. They want to move heavy weight. They want to throw things around. They want to look impressive, even though nobody's listening to them. Now, Oz, I mean, if you don't mind talking about the neurological side about this a little bit, I know you could
Yes,
probably
please.
Yeah. So, and I know you have a deep interest in this, and pretty soon you're going to start learning it more in depth, when you join the band here. But one of the first things that you're going to learn at RFACE, and RFACE stands for Rehabilitation of Old Injuries, Restoration of Movement, and Re-education of the Nervous System. You were just talking about that, right? It's a really important component. First concept, big concept, we're going to have to address these things if we're going to help clients. Second big concept is that the brain is the governing system. So if your ability to control fine motor movement is obscured, or let's use a more specific word to our system, it's a little fuzzy, okay? It's going to create problems somewhere else. So essentially in Z, we focus on three different systems: proprioception, okay, visual, and vestibular. So you want eyes that can move well as well, right? So yeah, I want to create great movement and be coordinated and strong in certain actions and movements. But if my eyes are not coordinated equally well, that can present as movement problems. Furthermore, the vestibular system, the inner ear, your onboard balance system, if that is in any case, in any way, shape, or form compromised, is going to have a profound effect on your strength, on your flexibility, on your ability to navigate the world. So we always try to look at these three different systems as satellites, sending information back to the mothership up here to integrate the information. And then there's a more robust output, which hopefully is that movement that you were talking about with the elbow lock to the side and that maximal muscle contraction and being aware that, hey, I'm only moving from the elbow down, just the form and all that stuff. But if from our lens, if that is not established early, you do your assessments and you make sure that that person knows what neutral is. Because if you have a faulty vestibular system, you may think that this is straight. And I'm like, hey, straighten out your head. And you're like, I am straight. And when they go to neutral, they actually feel like they're over here. They feel like they're tilted the other way.
You're 100% right. Because of my injuries I have, if I'm not making conscious effort to straight line like a 2x4, then you were asking me about it. You're like, why were you doing like one of those horror movie kind of look? I was like, this is just how I have to because of my injuries, unless I'm actually focusing on. And so I'm right now sitting straight, but I feel like I'm leaning over to the right because of my injuries. And with my tinnitus, my equilibrium is always bad. So I have to really focus with my eyes to counterbalance to kind of try and make them come in level and even. So,
And I would love, Matt, I would love to share some of this stuff with you, on the back end, because I think it's going to be very powerful stuff right away for you. And, just a little bit that I know you already, if you can spread the word out and help some people with it, it will be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Real quick, I have found out, and this is kind of a really big deal because I don't believe in all, okay, if you can look like the bodybuilders, the Schwarzenegger, the Zane, the Columbo, all, the Danny Padillas, all that of the 70s, if you can look 20% less than them because of the anabolics, and you could do that naturally, you win. You've made it. Okay. And I see all these people that look like the Michelin tire person with a liposuction, and I'm like, you're a body destroyer. You're not a bodybuilder. Your body
Well,
ridiculous.
What's worse is these people. What's
Now,
worse is these people are publicized on social media and like portrayed as to be either heroes or funny, but they get put everywhere. And then unwillingly, people will see somebody. I'm not gonna say any names, but people will see these people who are very large and fat, and they're doing really ridiculous things with very heavy weights, and they're gonna think, "Oh, I need to do that. That's what I need to do," and then that's just gonna. I mean, just really don't do that. Don't do that. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
well, I was going to ask you, Mr. Oz. Okay, and I'm just gonna throw this disclaimer out because I've been out for 25 years of the service now.
Yep.
So things might have been changed, and I don't really care if they have. But during my time period, 92 to 97, we had our Marine Corps Daily 16 or 21 if they wanted to add in, and they had very hard and step ways of doing it. The Navy SEALs did the same exact damn thing, only they had their scuba tanks on their back and the whole thing. How do you handle all those goofballs coming from Coronado, San Diego, and all the vets like I would be that just stayed in Oceanside, and they think they know what they're doing because their officers told them they were doing a good job on their judging then. And then you put the kettlebells in their hand and just have them go through the Marine Corps Daily 16 with an 8-pound kettlebell, and they're like, oh wow. Explain that for me because I've always been interested.
So, one of the cool things about the organizations that I'm working with, so Strong First, and I used to be an RKC as well before Pavel split, and there was the big, as I like to call it, the Civil War. And with Z Health, Dr. Eric Cobb, which Coach Castle is now in touch with, both of them command a lot of respect in that military community. So if you're a coach and you have studied under these guys, it comes with a little bit more weight. Okay.
Sure.
When these guys come in, when they come in, they already have an expectation that you kind of like know your shit, and they're willing to listen a little bit more. But ultimately, it boils
like
down
having a master's degree instead of just bachelor's.
Yeah, it boils down to also giving them an experience in the.
I go to another person's school and watch because one of my nieces or something is at the school. The guy will come over or the woman and be like, oh, you're master so-and-so. And I was like, whatever, I'm wearing a Cardinal shirt. You're the coach today. I just want to see, you know what I mean?
I do.
I never got bored watching reverse punch or snap kick or whatever that, and so many people get wrapped up into that. And I hear it all the time on my side. Well, you're Mr. Olympia. Why aren't you boisterous about it? I was like, dude, I just proved that I could do something. Now somebody can learn better how to eat. Somebody can learn better how to train. Throw the garbage away, of all the silly exercise and all this hopping around stuff because we thought we knew what we were doing when we met Pavel.
Yeah.
I mean, we were the top 1%. We were Marine Anglico, the paratrooper guys, and we thought we knew what was up. That man had us throwing up in 5 minutes, and we were just using the 5-pound kettlebells.
Real
You
quick,
know?
I want to get in here with the weight just for a second. Would you mind chatting about, I mean, just briefly chatting about why an 8-pound kettlebell workout, as Matt keeps referencing it. I mean, most people, they think of kettlebells, they think of these videos and photos of people with 25, 50, 75, 100, I mean, et cetera. Wrecking ball with a handle, stupidness. Why is it? No, it's seriously, they look like
No,
Miley
it's true.
Cyrus. But no, so why is it that, I mean, I'll speak on levers and weight magnification if you want, but why is it that a kettlebell workout with just 8 pounds is so incredibly taxing for most people? If you want to talk about maybe the deep muscles of the spine or, whatever, go ahead.
Was that a question for Matt or for me?
You.
For you, of course. Matt's not doing, you think Matt's doing kettlebell swings?
Oh, no, sir.
Well, here's the thing. One of the big shifts that I had when I started working with kettlebells, and this was a product of both the demands that I was placing on my body at the time and my desire to go a step further. So when I discovered kettlebells, I was involved with dancing. Now, to your point about, you learn the martial arts and then you learn another martial arts, but they were comparable.
Yeah.
So there was some crossover. Well, I learned martial arts and practiced for many years. And then when I had the opportunity to do dancing, what I recognized immediately was like, I'm looking at the movement and I'm like, okay, I don't know the specific technique that they're using to do that, but I know that I can get my leg up there.
I want to interject real quick and just mention that ever since I've like comprehensively understood biomechanics, when it comes to me learning a new skill, it doesn't even matter what it is. Throwing a ball, I mean, a new martial art move, a new jujitsu, it doesn't matter. I learn it probably 10 to 15 times faster because I fully understand the muscles rotating, the bone is turning, the joint is pushed. Like it's extremely easy before I even do the move for me to know what my body needs to do. Does that make sense?
And 100%. And you're going to be stoked when you go to our phase and you start learning about neural chunking because this is right. So I'm looking at it. And then I go to some basic, technique classes for
11-year-old Matt Morton, black belt with Shotokan, wearing his little judo gi and, and his black belt with his last name on it. So everybody knew who he was. They're like, well, you're a black belt in Shotokan. You should be better at Taekwondo. No, I have no idea what I'm doing because everything is stepping different. Everything is moving different. To the untrained eye, it looks the same. A down block is a down block. No, not at all. So it's the difference between you doing your kettlebells versus me doing my total gym. It's what we have might look the same. A curl looks like a curl. No, it's how you activate the machine, and the machine either being the kettlebell or the cables or whatever the case may be. And everything needs to be learned at its own pace with its own function. And so many people just look at this stuff, and it's so much worse now than it ever was. In 1988, Coach Thomas, you could look up Bruce Thomas in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. This man was on the Olympic team in 1972 as the alternate for the heavyweights. That was my wrestling coach. He had powerlifting records. He had University of Kentucky defensive tackle records, All-America, just big moose of a man. But if you asked him to do anything with any agility outside of football or wrestling, he would just fall over. It's like walking and chewing bubble gum, but yet you've been drinking. You can't do it. And he'd say, if I would take this drill, didn't matter what it was, the single leg to the double leg, just working that transition, you have no agility when you start, but just because I made you do it 1,000 times, does that make you more agile? Absolutely not. That just makes you good at the drill.
Yeah.
And there's no difference. If you're not emotionally and mentally connected with the way your body is flowing and your energy is going out, you're making wasted movement.
Absolutely. I mean,
You're
Coach
going to
Castle,
hurt yourself.
Coach Castle, you talk about this a lot too, like about that mindfulness. That's the secret ingredient. I just wrote an article for a magazine and it was called Mindfulness, the secret ingredient to like having better fitness. And it's like be present, just be here and try to use the things that you already know and try to make some connections. Don't go like, aimlessly through the movements, like you were talking about, like all the people jumping and doing weird stuff and whatever. Being in the moment, yeah, like being in the moment is really important. I love that about your messaging. And it's like you're constantly talking about, like, how are you breathing? How are you resting? How are you eating? It's all things that are important because, I started talking about, hey, neurologically, this is the governing system. But guess what? That neurological system needs support. And the rest and the nutrition are that support.
So let me get into
I'll bring this up too. Okay, you're talking about the. We'll go with what you're saying, Oz, with like a start and finish. Okay. Is that here's a start? Now, is this a finish? No. Or is this a start and that's a proper finish? Where is your energy? Where's your start and stop? And you go over that a lot too, Castle. As do I. Just we explain it a little bit different.
Well, let me jump in here, guys. I just want to say a few things. So we briefly covered a couple of these topics, but in summary, I want to cover and hammer home a couple points. Your body is an extremely complicated system. It's made up of many different systems, and if any of these systems are compromised, they affect all of the other systems. It's impossible. Everything is intertwined. So check it out. Here's just some of them. If your microbiome is screwed up, that is your second brain in your stomach, you're going to be depressed, lethargic, fatigued. And that could just happen from taking antibiotics. That's it. Could happen from taking ibuprofen every day. Could happen from a poor diet. Could happen for a lot of reasons. That's just your stomach. If you're not sleeping a minimum of 5 sleep cycles a night or 7.5 hours, 5 blocks of 90 minutes correctly, you're going to be hungry all day. Your ghrelin levels are going to be elevated. That's the hunger hormone. It's going to make you hungry. That's going to cause binging, loss of willpower, loss of focus, etc. You get the idea. If you are not, I'll stop. You guys, you all get the idea. Everything is connected. Everything has a purpose. You have to handle yourself first. I know you all have families, you have friends, you have jobs, you have relationships, you have demands on your times and responsibilities. But I'm telling you, my life turned around when I decided to stop trying to help everyone else. I became very selfish. I fixated on focusing, literally just fixing myself and discovering who I was, what ideas were actually mine, and what was shit I was regurgitating. What did I actually know, and what did I think I knew? There's a big difference. And most people like to be in the fog about this. They don't want to admit how much they actually know versus what they don't know. They don't want to actually explain things. They don't want to admit that they're fat and out of shape. They don't want to admit that they don't sleep well. They don't admit that they're addicted to caffeine or cocaine or alcohol. They like to stay in a fog. Staying in a fog will destroy your life. You have to fix these things. Any exercise is good exercise, really, provided you're not doing stupid things like we've already addressed. Using momentum, improper weight loading, improper form and technique, or these things. I'll stop there. But also, I would like to add, developing these connections, these skill sets, it takes time. And the only way you can do it is with consistency. I mean, I'm at the moment, I'm finishing up a video series. It's 5 minutes a day of me practicing one particular thing for 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, you see how good it is. Now, I got pretty good at 3 different things, only 5 minutes of practice a day. One of them is a handstand. I can now do a full handstand. One is a split. Now I can do a full split. One of them was drawing anatomy. Now I can draw anatomy. And it was with only 5 minutes of practice a day. That's 15 minutes a day. But the thing is, even for me, somebody who teaches consistency, who teaches these goal settings, who's making the video, I had a lot of days where I put it off, I postponed it, and I didn't want to do it. And I'm the one who teaches this shit. So if it's hard for me, it's certainly hard for you guys. So don't keep things a secret. Write down what you want. Look at it every day. Have the balls to say it. Understand what needs to happen to fix it. Start applying the changes and understand that it will take a long time. Me fixing my breathing from vertical to horizontal took almost a year, and I still have to be mindful every day of it. Correcting my posture for me is still an ongoing battle. I mean, my physique is an ongoing battle. It's never going to end. But this is where we should be. We should all be constant students, constant learners. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't think, well, that Coach Castle guy said squats and deadlifts were stupid. I'm not going to listen to him. He's an idiot. No, why am I saying that? Go check out my other videos where I mathematically demonstrate what it actually does to your body and how much it actually loads your muscle. You know, kettlebells, I tell you guys, I don't like them, but that's because I train bodybuilding. Kettlebells are awesome for tons of stuff. They're very sport specific. And I think I'm going to have you back on soon. We'll have just an interview with you just to talk about kettlebells, I think, maybe, and some training philosophies. Matt, I mean, yeah, let's wrap it up, guys. I got to get rolling. Everybody, I just want to say, Coach Castle here signing off. Thank you so much, Oz and Matt, for coming on. The links for everything is going to be in the description. I would really recommend all you guys subscribe to our channels. Check us out on social media. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. One of us will get back to you. Matt, what you want to say, bud?
I'm just happy to be here. I like no, really, I feel that if I can be a fight towards good information versus the masses of just tomfoolery, you know. And I looked in like Taekwondo times and I'm looking at these things and I'm like, oh my God, dude, you've been at this for 20 years and some white belt is going to be sitting in class learning Taeguk 1, and they're going to be like, well, why can't I do that? Because you haven't made your body go through the motion to learn Taeguk 2 number yet.
And besides, I mean, in my opinion, there's really no fun fighting against an even opponent or even against, you know, a bigger opponent. I'm fighting against 99% of the fitness industry bullshit. That I think was basically the world, I would say. So I think that's a fair opponent for me. I need a good challenger. So far, nobody's been able to debate me, and all I've done is discredit these people. So moving on, Oz, what do you got?
Hey, I'm very thankful for the opportunity to come on here. It's very nice to meet you, Matt. Coach Castle, thank you so much. I very much enjoyed talking to you both, and I look forward to more of these. These are great. I think it's important to debate and to compare ideas. You're a very smart man, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. I'm specifically looking forward to hearing about this handstand journey that you had for a month, because I love handstanding. So I need to hear more about this.
I'll send you a video how to get a perfect handstand in a month. It's the anatomy of it, showing you how to do it, correct your posture. But then I'll be uploading the video next week, I think, of the full 30-day journey, the 5 minutes a day, just sped up, you know. But you can see everything. There's no bullshit. Like, you can see everything, you know. All right, guys, it was a pleasure. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your continuous support. It means a lot to us. And again, just get this information to other people, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe, video record, and put it on your social media. I approve this message. You're good. Everybody have a great day. Stay on your grind and do the work, because all three of us, we can't do it for you. We can't even spoon feed you. We can just give you the information. You got to do the work, guys. So get on it. And we'll have you back soon, Oz. Matt, obviously, we'll see you soon.
Are you committed? Because without commitment, nothing happens. You have to be committed through the storm and the rain and the heartache and the pain and the disappointment, or you're not gonna make it. It's a commitment. It's not a feeling. While they was golfing, I was studying. While they was shooting hoops, I was studying. While they was playing games and sitting up and eating and joking in the restaurant, I was studying. You can't get out of something that you're not willing to put into it. You have to put your everything, your mind, your energy, your effort, your discipline, your tenacity. Nothing is going to jump out the fire if you don't throw something in there. It's not going to happen. But if we fight every day, one of them days is going to be my day.